Hello everyone. It's that time of year where we're almost through and on to the next one, and that means we're going to have a top albums list. Now, 2013 was a great year for music. There's no doubt about it, and I tried a top 10 list and I said, not going to happen. I tried a top 13 list, 2013. I said I couldn't do it. So I have a list of the top 20 albums of 2013. So let's get to it. This actually took me about an hour to decide and to eliminate, I think it was about 35 to 40 albums in total, and I got down to 20, which is lucky because I had so many ones that I liked. Either way, just going to go straight into the list, so let's go. At number 20, I have Citizen with their album Youth. Now, I love Citizen. I got into them with all their splits and EPs they put out. Mostly I think it was just splits, though. And I was really excited to hear this full length. And when they dropped Youth, I was like, this is really awesome. It's like pop punk, but it's also mellow, and it's different. And Citizen are their own sounding band. I haven't really heard a lot of bands like them, and I heard Youth, and I immediately fell in love with it. Matt, their singer, he has such a good vocal sound. It's just, I really love the vocals of Citizen, and that is why that gets spot number 20. Number 19, August Burns Red with Rescue and Restore. Now, I have stated this numerous times before. I do enjoy August Burns Red. I only got into him when I started listening to Leveler, which came out 2 years ago, I think. Anyway, so I heard that, and then I started listening to their older stuff, and I got more and more into them. So I was most stoked to hear this album this year. I actually saw them live a few weeks ago, but either way, that's not here nor there. I love this album. Rescue and Restore had a lot of great things on it, and I just think that every album that August Burns Red puts out just gets better and better. This had a great sound of their, technical metal skills, I guess. Their great guitar playing, and their vocal style used a great range of screams and some different instrumental sets throughout the album, kind of like what they did on Leveler, and that's why it's just such a good album. At number 18, I had actually changed this, but I decided finally to go with Shreddy Krueger and their album The Grieving. Now, Shreddy Krueger, I don't know if a lot of people have this on their list, but they are basically a post-hardcore band. I actually reviewed their debut full-length album a couple months back when they first released it, and I fell in love with it. I thought it was a kind of post-hardcore album that got me back into that kind of sound, There's not a lot of bands who stick to mostly a post-hardcore sound. It's like metalcore this, or super metal this, or I want to do this kind of whatever hardcore sound. But I like what Shreddy Krueger did. They had a great instrumental sound, and they really stepped up their game. I love the vocals. The screaming and the cleans on this album just really get to me. And the vocals are really catchy. I find the instrumentals are catchy, and all together it just makes one super hella catchy album. Number 17, Touche Amore with Is Survived By. Now, this is not my favorite Touche Amore album, but I love Touche Amore. And I thought that Parting the Sea was actually the record that got me into them when I saw them live, and I listened to that on repeat. It was such a short and sweet album. This one's a little bit longer, just a little bit, and they actually had a couple songs which ranged in the 3-minute mark, which I hadn't really seen a lot before. I hadn't seen them do it a lot. But I thought it was really interesting to see them step out of the comfort zone of short and sweet and to the point, and a bit longer. And lyrically, I love their album. I mean, it was awesome. Jeremy Bolin was an amazing vocalist. I really love his sound, really emotional, and it's just such a great album. You sit down and you listen to it, and you feel the emotion in his voice. Alright, at number 16, we have The Plot and You with Could You Watch Your Children Burn. In 2012, I do believe, when they first dropped their single, Premeditated, I do believe was the first song they put off, I said to myself, this is going to be one of my favorite albums of 2013. And I kept that promise 12 months straight. I listened to this when it came out in January. I loved it. It was one of my favorite metalcore albums of the year. I believe that they are such an underrated metalcore band, and a band in general. I do believe they did a lot of their own recording. I watched a lot of their studio videos, and Landon, their vocalist, has a little setup in his house, and it's just really interesting. I like how they used a lot of different effects to put into their album, and I just love the sound of it. Really heavy. They're a very of course, metalcore, very heavy breakdown most times, and I love his vocal styles. He went with the clean vocals this time. Because they lost their guitarist / clean vocalist last year or year and a half ago maybe. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I thought he did a great job, and that is why that is on my list. Number 15, Polly Enzo with One Big Particular Loop. Now, for those of you who do not know, Polly Enzo is actually the band formerly known as Oceana, who were a Rise Records band, and they were more of like an alternative, you can say post-hardcore, metalcore band. And as they did more albums, they gradually changed their sound. And they did a, I think it was Kickstarter or Indiegogo, I think it was Kickstarter, and they raised money under the name Oceana and said they're going to work on a new album. And as the months went by, they decided to tell their fans they're changing their name because they overall changed their sound. And I was a bit iffy on it at first, but when I heard what they put out, my ears were just beyond pleased. This album is such a great album to chill out to. If you just want to lay in bed or just sit back and like I need something to relax to, and just listen to this album. I don't remember their vocalist name, but he has such a sweet and soft voice, and it's just very soothing and relaxing. A lot of their tracks are more softer, and a lot of cool instrumental styles, very like soft like guitar. And I couldn't even name a lot of the instruments actually, but I thought it was a really good use of a lot of different things, and just to put an album like that was really impressive. And with a name change and just like an overall sound change like that, it was a big step up and an amazing album. Number 14, Senses Fail with Renancer. I think I'm saying that right. Now, I've loved Senses Fail for years, and I always thought, you know, as far as post-hardcore bands, this is like one of the first ones I got into around like Silverstein and kind of bands like Atreyu and shit. This is what I first started listening to. And then I got into Senses Fail when I first started playing Guitar Hero, and I started listening to them more and more, and I enjoyed their sound. And they put out this album, and it's basically an entire new band. I mean, Buddy Nelson's vocals are just really good, and you can tell they're like more angrier, and you can tell his voice has matured over the years. It's kind of raspier at times. Really enjoy the clean vocals. Their overall instrumental style has picked up to a different but still heavy sound that just makes this album stand out. And I think any fan of Senses Fail will be nothing but pleased with this album. Another album that I think may be on a lot of people's lists who listen to metalcore or metal music, well, mostly metalcore, I guess I'll say, The Color Morale with No Hope. Now, this album actually had a very big impact this year. I think that a great band like The Color Morale actually stepped out of their comfort zone, did an almost completely different vocal style in this album, and fans just loved it. I really enjoy it, and I thought it was a big step up to, you know, change almost everything from the first two albums on your vocals, having a very different set of low vocals, kind of screaming vocals, to more of a raspy yelling vocal. And it really works out because I think it feels more emotion, and you can connect more with the songs. And I think lyrically it was a great album. I love the instrumental parts. I think throughout the entire album they show a lot of different styles, you know, and it's not just breakdown after breakdown, which is what a lot of the fans enjoyed, I think, because seeing a band like that change, not entirely who they are, but to get into a different comfort zone and say, we're going to do this and put it out there and hope the fans like it. And I believe they gained a whole new fan base, as well as their original fans just loved it, and it's nothing short of just a great CD. For all the pop punk fans out there, this may be on your list, the story so far with What You Don't See. At first, I was not into this, not as much into this album as I thought I would be. You know, I was so stuck up on Under Soil and Dirt, and just like a lot of people were, they said it's not the same, it's not as impactful. And you got to realize, an album that got as popular as that, with the great set of songs and just an overall amazing album like that, it's very hard to top. But they did do a great job. The more I listened to it, the more I fell in love with it. I think it's just a great style of pop punk. There's a lot of the, you know, just a lot of the same stuff they did on the first album, but kind of just more matured, and just a lot of more catchier choruses, short and sweet and to the point songs, and, you know, a lot of just great lyrics. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that album. I just really like it. Number 11, we have Stray from the Path and their album Anonymous. Now, I was really looking forward to Stray from the Path. I thought it was one of the albums that was going to impress me this year, and it did. I think that they really stepped up their game, and a lot of people, along with myself, would call it like Stray from the Machine or Rage Against the Path, you know, because this album sounds a lot like Rage Against the Machine, and there's not one thing wrong with that. It was just really awesome, right in your face, fast pace, a bunch of heavy parts, you know, it's just angry, and it's just such a great album to jam to when you're angry. And I just like sitting there going, good, it's good stuff. Of course, you know, I express my emotions greatly, as you can see. But yeah, I really like it, and there's a lot of great songs on it. Some guest spots from other vocalists like Jesse Bartlett, and I think the Jason Butler. No, maybe I have bad memory. But yeah, some really cool guest spots, and yeah, so that's that one. And we've reached the half point. We're at number 10, and we're going for something heavy and fast-paced, something more mellow and slowed down. I have City and Color with their album, The Hurry and the Harm. Now, at first I thought to myself before I even listened, I don't know if I'm going to like it. You know, they did something different on their last album, which was good. I enjoyed it, but you know, it took a while to get into. But I listened to this album, and immediately I fell in love. There was more of the softer, more like acoustic stuff that Dallas did earlier on when he first started City and Color. And there was more upbeat and, you know, a little bit faster pace and catchy songs. And it made such a great album to listen to. You know, another chill out album. Just lay down, sit down, and say, this is just an enjoyable album. And I just thought that Dallas Green can never disappoint, and City and Color has always put out great music. Number 9, Counterparts, the difference between hell and home. Counterparts are from Toronto, I do believe around Hamilton, and they got signed to Victory Records. They put out their newest album. This one, well, they were signed to Victory Records beforehand, but either way, they were signed, put out their last album, had really good response, and a lot of fans were looking forward to their newest album, and I do not think they're disappointed. They kept it heavy, fast, straight to the point, a lot of great lyrics, memorable lyrics, just a heavy, fast-paced album that, you know, anger. When you're angry, just listen to this album, and bam, your anger is expressed through music, and this is why it is rope-a-dope. Number 8, we got Dance Gavin Dance with Acceptance Speech. No one can deny that regardless of all the vocals changes, that Dance Gavin Dance never put out a disappointing album. They always have a great instrumental set, whether it's screaming or clean vocals, it's just always catchy, and at least one song on an album will catch you off guard and make you say, hey, I really like this album. And this entire album jumped out to me and said, love me forever, and I said, of course I will, because I thought Tillian Pearson was a great choice as a vocalist. I really enjoyed Tides of Man. His solo album was really fun to listen to, really mellow, and I thought it gave a great sense of what you could hear on the new DGD album. And it did. I really enjoyed John Mass as a screamer. You know, he was back and stayed in the band, other than Johnny Craig, who got kicked out, whatever, that's not here nor there. But yeah, he did a great job. His screams were excellent. You know, his lyrics are always like stand out and just really interesting. You're kind of like, what did I just listen to? But either way, really cool. And Tillian had some really great parts. You know, he comes in with the chorus, and you're like, oh, that's such a good chorus, and it just sticks in your head. And it doesn't really matter what song it is on this album because it's just all amazing. Getting down the list now further on, we're at number 7 with Let Live and their album, The Black is Beautiful. Another album I said to myself, I'm going to love this from start to finish. I did. I thought it was different from the last album, Fake History, but I thought it was really interesting to see the route they took. It was a very interesting album, and they referred to it, I think, as soul punk. And it was a cool little style change, not entirely, you know, but you could hear something different. Any fan who listened to Fake History, then The Black is Beautiful could hear something different. But it was still catchy, and Jason's vocals are always wicked, and the set of guitars and drums always mix so well together on every song, and just it kind of gets you grooving, you know. It's such a groovy album, and it's like heavy at some points, but it's also, you know, really good and soft. So it's in a mix of heavy and soft, which is like Hoft or heavy, you know, and it's just like soul punk. It's soul punk, you know. At number 6, if this album is not on your list, you're missing out, because as soon as I heard this album, I fell in love. Vanna with The Few and the Far Between. This is one hardcore album that I could personally say I would buy it on CD, then buy it on vinyl. I break my CD, I buy another CD, then I buy a shirt online. I somehow break the vinyl, and then I buy another vinyl. This album is just that good. From the first time I listened, fast pace, really great, straight to the point. Guitars are fast, the vocals are awesome. I think Davey is a great vocalist. And you have all these other things going on. And one song that sticks out on this album to me, and what made it one of my favorite albums, you know, the album itself is great. Please Stay, this softer set song with, you know, these slower guitars, slower drum, and everything, and you still have Davey going with these, you know, raw sounding, heavier scream-like vocals, and it's just so impactful. I listened to this song like on repeat sometimes. I'm like, this is just such a good song, I cannot get over it. And this album is just perfect. I think it was a great year for pop punk, and this is definitely one of the most standout pop punk albums of the year. And a lot of people will agree when at number 5 we had the Wonder Years with the Greatest Generation. To end their trilogy, they put out this great album which finally says this is being a grown-up, this is what happens, and it was just amazing. I really do enjoy the Wonder Years. I'm not one of those fans that says, oh yeah, Soupy, oh yeah this. I just say I enjoy the Wonder Years. But I listened to this album and I said, I love this album. I thought it was great. Some really fast-paced songs, and you're like, wow, this is awesome, really catchy. And then they have kind of like some slower parts, and you're like, damn, this is touching, you know? And I just think they did it right in giving the fans something memorable. And, you know, to end this trilogy with something awesome. And, you know, to say this album is who we are, you know? They finished off after 3, you know, the first 2 albums were very successful, The Upsides and Suburbia, like they were really good, and then they bring out this, and I think, depending on who you are, it might be your favorite Wonder Years album yet. I'm getting really low now on the list. Number 4, I'm sure anyone who knows me could have guessed this was going to be there. Surprisingly not lower, but it's still here, of course. Silverstein with their album This Is How the Wind Shifts. I actually had This Is How the Wind Shifts addendum, because they put out a re-release which had 7 songs total, I do believe. There was a couple of acoustic songs and some other things put on, some bonus tracks, and they actually finally did it where this album was 14 tracks originally when they first put it out, and the first 7 songs and the second set of 7 songs would coincide with each other, and they would both tell a story. And that is the second time they have made a concept album, and I absolutely adore concept albums, because, you know, there's a story being told, and you get so into the story. It's like watching a movie or reading a book. You're like, this is awesome, you know, you just want to hear more. You're like, what happens next? So you listen to track 1 and then you go to track 8, or you listen to track 2 and go to track 9, or, you know, so on. It's just so excellent, and I just thought this was awesome. Then they brought out Addendum, and some of the bonus tracks were really awesome, and I thought the acoustic stuff was really good, but that was released a while ago and I really liked it anyways. And then they put together This Is How the Wind Shifts. I do believe that's the one. Hopefully I said the name right. And it's where they had 2 tracks overlapping each other, and they would make this great song. And I just said, finally, you get to hear this as one thing, professionally put together by the band, and it's just perfect. And it's definitely like up there with one of my favorite Silverstein albums ever put out. At number 3, we have an album that I knew I would enjoy, but I didn't know I'd enjoy it this much. And that is My Ticket Home with their album Strangers Only. Now, My Ticket Home were known as a great metalcore band on Rise Records, and they put out an awesome album, you know, really heavy, fast-paced, cool stuff, clean vocals on the chorus, and, you know, it stuck out. I thought it was really awesome. They made a good name for themselves. Then what happened is their clean vocalist / guitarist left and went to Attack Attack, I think is where he went, before they officially broke up or changed names or whatever. And, you know, they said, what are we going to do? So they basically changed up their style a bit, and they defined themselves as puke rock, you know, as a genre, which is basically and essentially a different form of nu metal. And although it can be repetitive at times with some of the lyrics, verses or choruses, it gets stuck in your head. It's very heavy and angry and fast paced. And there's like 5 albums I listen to when I'm angry, and this is one of them, because there's just so many songs you just hear, and when the guitar comes in and the drum comes in, they hit heavy and fast. This is perfect. And, you know, there's some songs with some very slightish clean vocals, like maybe 2 or 3 that have choruses, and some other little small parts in between. But, you know, it's their main vocalist, who's also a bassist now, and they just do such a great job. You know, it's such a great sounding album, and I gave it a 10 out of 10 when I reviewed it, because it was just such an impressive album. I never expected to enjoy their second full-length album that much. Alright, number 2, getting down there, really low now. Bring Me the Horizon with Sempiternal. Now, this will make almost any website, whether it's music related or anything like that, blog, people's, YouTube, it'll make a lot of people's list, because Bring Me the Horizon have done something that I guess you don't see a lot of deathcore bands who originally started like that change their style so much and to go something so electronic with different guitar beats and some breakdowns and other things like that, and make such a great go of it, and just have such a catchy album. I mean, And the first album, or sorry, the first listen I had of the album, I was like, this is great. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I listened to it again and again. And I actually waited about 3.5 months before I bought a physical copy of it, because I wanted to get the Deathbeds EP, which was a deluxe edition, which never got in here until like 3.5 months later after the album came out, which is bullshit, but whatever, still got it. And I actually bought the vinyl at the same store a few weeks later, and I listened to it. It's just such a great album. And you know, Ollie's vocals are really good. I really like the entire instrumental sound. It's very different, and although this is There Is a Hell is still my favorite album, I think Sempiternal steps up and says, this is who we are, we're just going to keep getting better every album that we put out. Finishing the list, at number 1, which shouldn't be a surprise to many people, after 3, maybe 3.5 years of being on a hiatus, they officially came out and said they were making a new album, Fall Out Boy. That's right, Save Rock and Roll / Pax Amdays has made number 1 on my list. Now, if you ask why some people get mad saying Fall Out Boy was so radio-friendly pop, with, you know, their less use of their pop-punk originality instruments and more of a, you know, computer-based electronic style and, you know, whatever. It's a great and fun album. That's simply put. Patrick Stump is a great vocalist. I enjoy him thoroughly. And I think the whole band getting back together and their huge fandom just exploded and just said, we are happy. And I'm sure anyone who is a true Fall Out Boy fan will enjoy it. I loved it. After like 2 listens, maybe 3 total, I was absolutely in love with the CD, and I said, yes, this is what I wanted. And they put out this music video series, which I think they're in part 7 now, where it's telling a story with every song. And I think that's a really interesting thing to do. You don't see a lot of bands doing that, and exactly having the money or support and filming, like, I think it's going to be 12 in total. I think there's 12 tracks on the album. Now, speaking about Pax Amdays, they made a punk-type album, which they re-released a couple months after they put out Save Rock and Roll. They were in with producer Ryan Adams, and I think in 2 days they jammed out 8 songs, which are fast-paced. I think almost all of them except for one are less than 2 minutes. Really fun, and to hear Fall Out Boy do something like actually punk, you know, as defined as punk, I guess you could say, and Patrick trying to do like a punk-style vocalist, it was really fun, and just something interesting to listen to, and you say, this is something different that they haven't done before. So you have this fun, poppy, radio-friendly album, more like so with Save Rock and Roll, and this punky, more fast-paced, short EP album, and you're just like, I'm sold, and that's why Fall Out Boy gets the number 1 spot on my list. Okay, so after talking to a camera for a half an hour and some technical difficulties, that is my top 20 albums of 2013. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed it. I want to get your list down below. It can be 10, it can be 13, it can be 20, it can be 30. I don't care. Give me your list. I want to talk albums because this was a great year for music. And 2014 is going to be even better. I know there's some announced releases already. Blink-182 is going to put something out, I think, after the summer. In the summer, Neck Deep has a new album in January, but that's something for a whole nother time. Again, tell me down below. I want to know. Do you agree with my list? Do you like anything that I listed? Is there anything new you think you're going to check out? Please tell me. If you want, you can like my Facebook page. There's a lot of things that are getting posted in the upcoming new year, as well as my Instagram, because I love using my Instagram. It's probably the thing I use most. Uploading pictures of the shit I buy, myself, my food, and basically why I'm getting fat and broke. That's why I buy CDs, and I buy shit I don't need, and I eat bad food. Oh my god. Yes, but that's why. So my Instagram will be linked down below, or sorry, you can just go search it. It's actually Griffy Overboard, Griffy Overboard, like man overboard, but it's Griffy Overboard. Original. I know, right? Who would have thought to name themselves after one of their names and a band name? I don't know. But yeah, quick announcement. I have failed in 2013. I struggled with myself. I have struggled with work, school, YouTube, and just personal stuff. I just struggled. So I'm aiming for a better 2014. I'm hoping to get a new lens, a new microphone, interview bands that come into my town, which is not a whole lot, but I'm working on something with a friend, and that's all that matters. I'm aiming to do something. And I just want to thank anyone who has stuck around from 3 years ago to 2 days ago, maybe even today. Thank you so much for watching any video I have ever put out, subscribing, commenting, liking, which you should do in this video, comment, like, share. Do you agree? Yeah. I just want to thank you. You know, it's cool. I think you guys are super rad. If you're a fan of music, you buy your music, download it, get it off iTunes, I don't care. As long as you support music, you are awesome. Because that's what keeps bands going. And you know, that's what makes the world happy. Music. Well, it makes me happy at least. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Hoping for a better 2014. Christmas is in about 2 days, so Merry Christmas Eve by the time I'm filming this. And Happy New Year, guys. And I hope it's a good one. So remember, it's music for today, music for tomorrow, and music for life. Merry Christmas.